Here are 5 D&D races you've never heard of. They were made by Wizards of the Coast, but never officially released to the public. They've been forgotten until now. They are, however, good to go. If you want to play something completely new, or just totally off the wall, check these out. Glitchling. When it comes to sentient tin cans in D&D, you've got your edgy Warforged, your adorable Autognome, and the weird as hell Glitchling. You're 50% magic, 50% robot, 100% nerd. Glitchlings are lawful little dorks who just want to catalog the multiverse. You're a construct, you're medium-sized, you've got a 30-foot walking speed, and you have a quirk. This is a fun roleplay feature, like crippling anxiety or kleptomania. More importantly, you've got the most badass natural armor ever. It's like the Autognome's armored plating, but better. Your AC is 14 plus your dex modifier when you're not wearing armor. That is like +2 studded leather armor. That is better than free mage armor. You also have the obligatory living construct feature that they have to slap on every construct race. Yes, you can be healed by spells like Healing Word and Cure Wounds. Notably, despite a strong start here, you don't get the other typical robot stuff. You still need to eat, breathe, sleep, and poop. Yes, you're expected to keep poop records in this game. You also have these garbage wings that barely work. On your turn, you can choose to gain a flying speed until the end of that turn. If you're still airborne at the end of that turn, you fall, and you can do this a few times per short rest. It's basically a super jump. It's a funny way to accidentally kill yourself if you forget to read your abilities, and a little more balanced than a full-on flying race. And speaking of balance, you also get the Balance Chaos feature. Whenever you make an attack or save and roll lower than a 10, you can change it to a 10. It's only a couple of times per short rest, but that might be enough to squeeze out a hit on an attack roll or turn an easy save from an embarrassing fail to a narrow success. Finally, there's Ordered Mind. You have advantage on saves against being charmed and advantage on insight checks. You're basically a decent lie detector that's hard to reprogram. Construct races in D&D are always good, and glitchlings are no exception. That AC boost is especially great on high dex characters like rogues, bladesinger wizards, and swordsbards. Viashino. Turtle, Dragonborn, Yuan-Ti, Kobold, Lizardfolk, someone at Wizards of the Coast has a scaly fetish, and it doesn't stop there. Allow me to introduce Viashino, a Magic the Gathering race that was originally meant to be in Guide to Ravnica. Instead of your standard cold-blooded lizard who has to sunbathe just to exist, you are fueled by an internal flame. This makes you a highly volatile, extremely emotional person, as likely to try and kill a person as you are to try to bang them. Basically, a 23-year-old from New York. What makes Viashino unique is your spiked tail. Anytime you take a hit, you can use your reaction to lash out with it, dealing 1d4 piercing plus your strength modifier. There's no limit to how often you can do this, reliably increasing your damage every turn you are attacked. Since it's considered an unarmed strike, you can also combine this with Monk to increase its damage at higher levels, or with Barbarian for that rage bonus. You also get a worse version of the Lizardfolk's bite attack that you will probably never use unless you're a monk, but you know, it's flavorful. Speaking of worse than Lizardfolk, you get a choice of proficiency in acrobatics or stealth. Lizardfolk get 2 proficiencies, it's not fair. But the fact remains, you are the only race in the game to get a built-in reaction counter-strike attack. Viashino makes superb monks with their focus on unarmed strikes, or as any class who want to take damage and deal some back. If your DM allows, you might even be able to sneak attack with your tail. It is described as a blade-like weapon. I'd allow it, but it is bending the rules, so don't count on it. Just something to think about, it would make this race top tier. Either way, Viashino are a solid option that brings something to the table that no other race does, and that alone makes them worth building around.
Well, howdy there, patriots! YouTube tells me that 55% of my audience is American, so I'm updating my branding. There's nothing I love more than machine gunning the word freedom into the side of a hamburger store. Except maybe exploring new realms for my Dungeons and Dragons games, like Fairy. Fairy is a beautiful 5e campaign setting of blood, iron, and fae, inspired by British folk tales and medieval myths. Think Game of Thrones meets Celtic folklore. 10 new subclasses, 3 new lineages, and a whole new class for D&D, the Witch. And a new fealty system, allowing players to gain renown with Fey houses and spend that renown on favor and powers. Make roleplay matter in your epic games of political intrigue. Check out the free preview PDF and grab the book on Back-A-Kit. Link below. But be quick, it's ending sooner than a varmint on a cattle ranch. Yee-haw!
So what do you think? I think it is baffling that you took a beautiful book about British and Celtic folklore and did this American stereotype thing. Okay, that's fair, but if you're still confused, there is a free sample PDF on the Back-A-Kit. Okay, link in description? Link in description. Grark Elf. You know how all elves are annoying snobs that everyone wants to punch? Well, this is the elf subrace who does the punching. Grark are viewed as primitive, barbaric savages by the other elves. In turn, they see other elves as pampered, privileged snowflakes who don't know how to take care of themselves. I love this as a character hook. You'll have to ask yourself why you chose to integrate with other players in the first place. Maybe you were exiled. Maybe you found other races curious and wanted to learn more. I love lore that encourages players to explore their own character. They are the only elf subrace to give you a +1 to strength, which can be really nice for opening up new builds for elves. Like other elves, you get dark vision, proficiency in perception, advantage against being charmed, and trance. You also have proficiency with longbows, short bows, spears, and nets. Ugh. But the real power of the Grark is your free druid cantrip. High elves get access to a wizard cantrip. Sure, there's some good options there, but it doesn't offer guidance. Guidance is awesome. Guidance is arguably the best cantrip in the game. It's worth playing this race just to get access to guidance. Or there's the amazing Shillelagh spell, which turns any club or quarterstaff into a D8 magical weapon that uses your spellcasting modifier for hits and damage, and it's only a bonus action, and it's not concentration. There is no race in the game that gives free access to a druid cantrip except this one, and that is such a strong niche that it makes them single-handedly worth playing. Grark are amazing for blade singers, paladins, rangers, eldritch knight fighters, and arcane trickster rogues. Revenant. Van Richen's Guide to Ravenloft gave us a new type of races called lineages, which are almost like races on top of races. Kind of. We have Hexblood, Dhampir, and Reborn, but there was originally supposed to be a fourth, the Revenant. Revenants are basically the John Wick of D&D, being intensely motivated by revenge and extremely hard to stop. You can find no peace until whatever unfinished business you have on the mortal plane is resolved. This gives you a fantastic hook for your character, especially in a dark fantasy or horror setting. It can also be a great way to continue playing a character you like who died. Simply reincarnate as this race instead with a motivation you have to fulfill. We'll get more on how that works later. There are two types of Revenant, human and Dragonborn. The human one is kinda standard, but the Dragonborn one lets you replace your breath weapon attack with necrotic damage, which is actually a big upgrade on the more commonly resisted fire, lightning, and poison from most other Dragonborn. You can also theme yourself as a playable Dracolich, which is obviously ridiculously cool. As for core features, you recover 1 hit point at the start of every turn while you're below half your maximum HP. Sure, recovering 1 hit point at the start of each turn doesn't sound like a lot, but this feature doesn't turn off when you're reduced to 0. This makes you functionally unkillable unless you die from the massive damage rule, which could happen. I mean, you know, you're gonna be at 1 hit point a lot. Orcs wish they were this durable, and it even works outside of battle, ensuring you never enter a fight with less than half hit points. As if that weren't enough already, even if your enemies are able to put you 6 foot under again, your curse ensures you can never stay dead, completely resurrecting you 24 hours later. If your body is destroyed, you reform a new one within 1 mile of the point where you died. You also remember exactly who killed you, and they just made the list. However, if you ever fulfill your goal or kill the target of your vengeance, your curse is lifted and you immediately die. and you cannot be resurrected. It's brutal, but it is a fitting trade-off. This is an extremely story-driven race. Revenant characters add drama and tension, as you and your allies come to realize that whenever you achieve your current goal, you will die. It also has the potential for some hilarious tactics based around the fact that you will resurrect. Strap yourself up with bombs and give the bad guy a hug. Leap on someone's head from 600 feet in the air, you get the idea. They also make great trap springers. Who needs to disarm a trap when you can just walk right through it, get knocked to 0 hit points, and boom, 20 minutes later, you're back to half HP. Revenants push the boundaries of exactly what a D&D race can be. That has the risk that some power gamers might try and exploit the power of the race without accepting any of the downsides. However, as a story beat, as an option for characters who die but still have a meaningful narrative left to play, they're a really powerful storytelling tool and really fun. With some clearly defined boundaries, this race works amazingly. They're also one of the last times that WotC really experimented with something totally off the wall, which, you know, deserves credit. Fairy. Hold up. Fairies are a thing in D&D already, right? Yeah, they are, but sometimes races are introduced and they are so different from their original incarnation that they might as well be called something else. The original fairy, before being formally introduced in Wild Beyond the Witchlight, is completely insane. The other races we talked about, play them in your games, have fun. Sure, the Revenant is strong, but you know, be responsible, it'll be great. This bad boy though, this is the most busted ass race ever printed in 5e, and people need to hear about it. Firstly, you have a magical flying speed that isn't tied to your wings. You have wings, don't need them to fly, the magic is innate to you. That means if you wild shape or polymorph into a creature that normally wouldn't be able to fly, you can still fly. A level 2 moon druid wild shaping into a flying brown bear is a thing. It is also the only flying speed in the game that doesn't have a restriction on armor. If you want to fly in full plate mail, you can. Just like the final version of the fairy, you also get the option to cast Druidcraft or Fairy Fire using your intelligence, wisdom, or charisma as the spellcasting ability. Druidcraft is fine. It's basically the druid version of Prestidigitation, but worse. But Fairy Fire will never not be useful as long as you can spare the concentration. It grants advantage on everyone's attacks against a target and stops them from being invisible. As if that weren't enough, you also have the magical ability to squeeze through any space as narrow as 1 inch thick, letting you escape from any grapple or any binds. Even fairies that have undergone transformations can still do this. You can be a 12-foot tall Path of the Giant Barbarian and still crush yourself under the crack of a door. The official published version of the fairy is really bland. Sure, this one might be a bit much, when a level 2 moon druid can wild shape into a flying brown bear that can squeeze through a keyhole, but the fact that that is a sentence that I can say at all is amazing. This is a race people should know about, even if only as a cool villain concept for your players to fight, right? But if you want more races that are balanced and are ready to roll right now, and to support this channel in making videos, check out the D&D Shorts Patreon, link below. All new supporters get instant access to over 200 pages of amazing subclasses, races, feats, spells, adventures, and tons more. You can even play in the games that I run on there as well. And yeah, that's all I got. Remember to like and subscribe, check out other videos on the channel, and I'll see you next time.